Hey guys, it's Jackson here from Titanic Games, and today we're going to be doing a little update video on the RPG game tutorial series, and specifically we'll be looking at saving our inventory and equipment, because I've had a lot of people ask how do we save these things. So I guess it's not really that difficult of a topic, but it is something that a lot of people aren't familiar with, so we'll go ahead and look at doing that. Now I do want to say that I've done another video outside of this series on saving more of generic things such as like health or stamina, I guess. So we won't be focusing on that here. We'll be primarily focusing just on saving the inventory and equipment, and then reinitializing anything that we have equipped once we reload the game. All right. So if you want to do things like saving the health, stamina, you can go check out my other video because that's outside of this this tutorial. So anyways, enough talk. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to do is go into our blueprints folder here. I'm going to go into game, and your file structure might look a little different than mine. This has been dramatically touched up from the last time that I did a video in this series, so just be aware of that. So anyways, in this folder we're going to right click, go to blueprint class, and we're going to under this all classes drop down, we're going to search for save game. Okay, so find the save game object, select it. Let's go ahead and call this BP underscore, I'm just going to call it save game. Okay, and sorry if I type a little slow here. I've only got, I guess, one good hand to work with, so I'll be a little slow. So anyways, we'll open this up. Okay, and we'll come back to that in a second. But next, let's go find our character, and we'll open him up too. All right, and basically what we want to do here is essentially when the game begins, right, we're going to want to check, if we have a save game in memory. If we do, then we're going to load our stuff. And if we don't, then we'll wait until we save the game before we save anything. So that's kind of the general idea here. All right. So now the things that we actually want to save are going to be these two arrays right here. The inventory array of the special struct we created called f_item_info. And then the equipment one of the same type. So we're going to want to save both of these. And then also, and this is more of like what you prefer, but we're going to save the state of whether or not we have our weapon sheathed or not, right? Whether it's already drawn, I guess. So anyways, we'll go back to our BP save game, and we're going to add those exact same variables that we want to save. So we'll add this first one here. I'll call this player inventory. Okay. Add another one called player equipment, and then this last one we'll call player weapon sheathed. Okay, so this last one we'll leave it a boolean, but these other two we're going to change them to arrays of f_item_info. So we'll change this to f_item_info. Same with this one, f_item_info, and then we'll select both of those and make those an array. Okay. Alright, cool. So that's actually all we need to do in the save game. So essentially the save game kind of just holds all the variables that you want to save. You can definitely implement your own functions here for doing different things, but the way I like to work with save games, save game objects, is kind of just using it to store any of the variables that I want to save. Okay. So next let's go ahead and go to our character, and we're going to go find our event begin play. Okay. So I'm going to move this guy up a little bit away from our create game HUD. And we're going to do what's called a sequence. Okay, so we'll do a couple things. I'm going to hold control and drag this down here. Now off of here, the first thing that we want to check is if our save game exists. So we'll say does save game exist. Now what you need to do is provide a string for the slot name and then a user index, which for our case we're just going to leave this to 0. Okay. So for slot name though, let's go ahead and give it a name first. I'm just going to call this default save. Okay, I'm going to right click, promote that guy to a variable, and we'll just call this save slot. Alright, now next what we want to do is we want to check if the save game exists. So we'll drag off and do a branch. Alright, now off of true, right, this is going to mean that the save game exists, so we're going to want to load the game. All right, then off of false, that means it doesn't exist, so we're going to go ahead and create kind of a default save, I guess. So what we'll do is off of false, we'll say create save game object. All right. We'll select the class that we created, so we'll look for BP save game. Then we're going to right click and promote this guy to a variable, and we'll call this save game ref for save game reference. All right. Actually, I forgot one thing. Before we do that, right, we want to cast this to our BP save game to make sure it's the same. So say cast to BP save game. All right, and this will just help us to ensure that it's the correct type. So plug everything in like this, and we should be good to go. All right. Next, we're going to do the load game. So I'll move this all down a little bit. All right, wait for that to compile. Okay, so now if the game exists, then we're going to say load game from slot. Now the slot name, of course, will be the slot that we use to, test if it exists. So we'll take this save slot, plug it in. Make sure your user indexes are the same. All right, you could promote that to a variable if you're going to be doing a lot of stuff with the user indexed, but usually you can just leave it at 0, especially for like a single player game. All right, so now same kind of deal here. We're going to take this and just hold Control W to duplicate it all. Okay, and there we go. So we have kind of the basic, at least idea of, or the basic functionality of what we want to do. Next, what we need to do is create our own functions here that we'll use to explicitly load the variables from the save game object and then save them. All right, so let's go up to functions here. We'll create a new function, call it save game, and we'll create another called load game. All right, so let's go ahead and do the load game first. That'll be fine. So what we'll do is scroll down and find our save game reference. We'll get this guy. And from here, we can access all these variables that we have in the save game object. So the first one that we'll do is, we'll say get inventory. Let's see, what is it? Ooh, that's right, I forgot. Okay, one quick thing that we need to fix is we need to change this variable to our BP save game. I forgot that when I did the original promote to variable, it promoted it to the wrong type. So we'll just compile and save, and let's just go double check, make sure everything's still connected correctly, and now we should be good to go. All right, so my mistake there. So yeah, it should be a BP save game reference. Now we can say, let's actually get player weapon sheath first, right? Then from here, we're going to use this to say set has weapon sheathed. Okay, and note that what we're doing is we're taking the values of the variables from our save game, which have been saved, okay, and we're using them to set the values on our own character here, okay. So the next one here is we're gonna, well, I'll just do both of these here. We want to set our inventory. Okay, we want to set the items in our inventory, and we want to set the items in our equipment. So we'll get both of those out here really quick. Now from here, we can say get player inventory. Hook that up, and then we'll do the same down here, get player equipment, hook that up as well, and perfect. So now we have, now we're retrieving the values of those variables from our save game. Okay, now this is the part now where, well, we have our equipment, right? We're telling, we've saved our equipment, and now we're using it to set the equipment on our character again. And then once we've done that, what we want to do is respawn and set all these references here for any of the items that we have. Okay, so what we can do is run this through a for each loop. Okay, and essentially for each item here, all we're going to do is call the attach equipment function. So if we go back really quick to our event graph, essentially we're kind of imitating parts of this use item, but the only thing that we actually need from this function is, well, essentially really just this attach equipment and this stuff as well. So we'll go ahead and we can just copy this. So Control C, to copy it, come into load game, Control V, right? Hook this up. And if we go into this function really quick, just to give us a refresher of what it's doing, right? It takes the item info. Well, first it checks if the weapon is sheathed or not, because we need to know where we want to attach the weapon, right? But then, depending on the slot and its class, it will spawn, whatever item it is, and then set the corresponding reference variable. Okay, so these all right here. All right, so that's what it's doing. Okay, so we've done that. Next, we'll go ahead and grab all this right here, this functionality, this has weapon sheath, which is again at the end of event use item. Copy all that, paste it. All right, and this is the part that's kind of, I guess, more optional and depends on, you know, kind of the gameplay that you want to have. So let's say that, you know, you don't want, let's say you don't really care whether or not the weapon is sheathed when you save the game, right? You just kind of want to always spawn or always start the game, you know, with the weapon unequipped, right? Then you just kind of leave all this part out, all right? But I'm including it just to show those of you who would be interested in that. All right, so anyways, that's all we really need for that. I'm going to do a quick little debug string here. So we'll say print string, and we'll just say loaded game. Okay, so compile and save that. Now we can go ahead and do our save game function. So save game is going to be kind of similar, except rather than getting the variables from our save game, we're going to be setting the variables on our save game. So we'll go take our save game reference. We'll say set weapon sheathed. Okay, set player weapon sheathed. The other ones we need to do are set player inventory, and then we need to set player equipment as well. All right. Now these again, we're going to get the values from our own character here. So we'll say has weapon sheathed. Plug that in. All right, now for player inventory, we need to take the inventory, and then for equipment, we need to take our equipment. Okay, now the last thing, and this is always very important when you're saving the game, basically right before you save the game, right, I always recommend, right after you save all the variables on the save game reference, I always recommend doing the save game to slot. Okay. And you need to do this anyways whenever you're saving variables. So it's just kind of I guess a good habit, in my opinion, to keep all of the setting of the variables next to each other. So anyways, for the save game object, we're going to choose our reference here, plug that in. Save slot will be this save slot. Let's go ahead and just add a quick debugging string. So we'll say print string here. Okay. I'm going to do an append so we can kind of customize what the debugging string looks like a little bit. We'll just say saved game equals space. Okay, save game equals space, so we can kind of, you know, check if this Boolean returns true or false. Plug that guy in, and there we go. So compile and save. All right, cool. So really, that's kind of the core of it now. So we can just go back to our event begin play way up here. Okay, and we'll go ahead and add these two functions. Okay, so we'll say save game and load game, just like so. All right, and now the last thing that we need to do here is we need to tell our recorder to do kind of the same thing for all of our equipment. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll create one more function here that we'll call try equipping recorder items, or I don't know, recorder items. Yeah, we'll just call it that. So essentially what this is going to do is it's going to take our equipment again. Okay, we're going to get our equipment. We're going to run it through a for each loop. All right. And then for each of these elements, we want to take our recorder reference, wherever that guy is. Let's go find it. Let's see. I believe actually if we come down here to right here to our event use item, we can actually just kind of recycle this. So we'll say Control C to copy this. Go back to our try equip function, paste it, take our item info, plug it in. All right. Now, one last thing I want to say is that You could put a check in here to kind of see if there's even any items in the array before you try running the loop. Okay, so I'll just show how to do that really quick. We can say length. All right, check if it's greater than 0. And then if it is, we'll do a branch. And basically, if it's greater than 0, meaning that means that there's something in the array. So then we'll do the for each loop. All right. I guess there's not technically any really difference between doing these methods, but in my opinion, I think it's a better habit to just verify first if you even have something before trying to run these events. Okay. So anyways, that's probably all we need to do. So we'll close all this up. We'll go back up here towards the event begin play. Okay, make sure we have our load and save game functions in there. And now after the event pass reference, after this interface function here, we want to call try equipping recorder items. Okay, because immediately, once this is called, we're getting that reference to our recorder, so then we can update it at the same time. All right. And again, it'll only update it if we even have some equipment items. All right. So let's see here. Is there anything else we can do? I believe that's all we need. So let's go ahead and just add some kind of debugging, like a quick save and load, buttons for ourselves here. So I'm going to choose the 2 key and the 3 key. So we can use both of these. So when 2 is pressed, I'm going to say, let's save the game. All right. And then when 3 is pressed, we'll load the game. Okay, so we'll compile and save, and then we can go ahead and try this out. Now, before we press play, I just want to say something really quick that as soon as we press play, it should in the top left of the screen say, save game, because in our save game function here, we have this little debugging string. Okay, so just be aware of that. It's going to flash really quickly. Let's actually go change how long it lasts to, let's say 5 seconds. All right, we'll go do the same in the load game function for this print string. We'll also say 5 seconds. Okay, so they'll just prolong it a little bit and we can hopefully see it. So let's go ahead and press play. We should see that it says save game equals true. All right, now if we hit escape really quick to close it, press play again, it says loaded game, and that's because the save slot already exists. So one thing I want to show really quick is if you go navigate to the actual file location of your project, right, you'll have a saved folder. If you open this up and you go into save games, you'll see that you should have a default save, or whatever the save slot is named, that's what the save files will be named as well. So if you're looking to do kind of like a save, like having multiple save slots, right, it's quite easy to do. You just like you could just append like a number or something onto the end, and then like allow your your players to pick from those options, I guess. But that's, I guess, a topic for another day. This is just where you find any of your save games. So anyways, I'll just move that out of the way, and let's go ahead and test this out then. If we press play, it said loaded game once again, and just to show you that we don't have anything in our inventory or equipment, here it is. All right, let's go pick up some items. So we've got a wand, axe, shield. All right, fantastic. If I hit I, you can see here they are. All right, now let's go ahead and hit 2 and we'll save our game. So we hit 2, save game equals true. All right, so we'll hit escape. Now if we press play, since we saved it, everything should still be in our inventory. So we press play, loaded the game, we hit I, hit I, everything shows up. All right, fantastic. So the next part we need to do is just check, if it actually equips, and saves the equip. So let's go ahead and equip our wand, equip our kite shield. All right, you see it definitely updates on the recorder as well. All right, so we'll hit 2, save that once again, and then close this down. Now, since we save all of the, we save whether or not the weapon is sheathed or not, and then we use that again to set kind of our character's positioning and everything. And again, since we're saving the inventory and equipment and then spawning all the items again, everything should load exactly the way it was before. But I guess, obviously our location isn't saved yet, so that'll be kind of the only difference really. So if you press play, you'll see we're still holding all the items that we had before. We're still using our control rotation there. And if I hit I and E, you'll see that our items are still there. All right. So now let's say, that you went along, you're battling for years, right? Having a jolly good time, fighting in the game. All right. Hit I and E, and maybe you have an item equipped and you die, right? Oh no, we died. Okay. Since you didn't save, right? You go back, you still won't have those items. So, and of course, this still works if you de-equip items. Oh, we got a little bug there. That's silly, Jackson. Anyways, that's for another time. But if you hit save, try that out. Right, still works. Also, if you equip an item, all right, so here it's equipped, and you hit Q to sheath it, right, and then save, it will still remember that hasn't been sheathed yet. So, anyways, there you go. There you have it. There's how to, I guess, save your items and your equipment, and then respawn it. And then I guess one thing I forgot to point out also is that the our recorder is updating as well. So just be aware of that. So yeah. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys liked the video. If you like it, like or subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.